The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. At that time the shepherds went with haste to Bethlehem and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in a manger. And when they saw it, they made known the saying which they had been told them concerning this child. And all who heard it wondered at what the shepherds told them. But Mary kept all these things, pondering them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as it had been told them. And at the end of 8 days, when he was circumcised, he was called Jesus, the name given by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. The Gospel of the Lord. So today we celebrate the solemnity of Mary, the Mother of God, the Mother of Jesus. And we have a beautiful, beautiful Gospel, and we see that the first visitors, according to Luke, that come into the stable are shepherds. This is rather unusual because generally when a child is born, it is family and relatives who rush in to see the child first, the significant people in the child's life, the people who are going to care for him and the extended family. Now, in the case of Jesus, it's the shepherds. Not Mary's extended family, not the friends they might have been with, because remember in those days, they did not necessarily travel alone. They would travel in a clan, as we knew from the time when Jesus was found in the temple. Where were those people that they had traveled with to Bethlehem? They weren't around. It was the shepherds, the simple shepherds. And how did they find their way into the stable? Well, the same way as Mary and Joseph, through angels. They had an encounter with the angels. They were people of faith. They recognized the angels were telling them something important, and they flowed with that conviction into an unlikely place, unlikely times, and in the darkness of the tomb they saw the glow of Jesus, the humanity of God. Mary was silently watching all of this, pondering them, kind of waiting to see, meditating on the greatness of what was happening. We find a greatness in Mary in that she seemed to accept things so easily, or relatively easily, and she held them without judging, without being crazy about anything, but allowing God's gift to shine through the smallness and the greatness of all that was around her. The shepherds were the same. Joseph was the same. Angels, conviction of God, doing the small things, landing up with great blessing. In this year ahead, perhaps we can follow the example of Our Lady. Let us listen to the signs of the times around us without judging, without panicking, without being alarmed. Even in the little blessings that will happen in our lives, let us see them and let them lead us to a greatness of faith. That is what was happening with the shepherds. They left singing glory and praise to God. After all, they'd had a vision of angels. They were led into a very common place for them, a stable, but they saw something really unique. What was it? It was a child in a manger. Just a child. But these people were so profoundly touched by that presence that their lives, it would seem, would change forever. In the year ahead, when we go into the stables of our pandemic, locked up in our homes, suffering the burden of people dying in our families, not the burden, but the reality, young and old, the unemployment, the increased unemployment, all the woes that come into our lives and will continue to come into our lives. Are we going to see the child Jesus in those moments? If we believe in the angels, and if we keep seeking as the angels, as the shepherds did, if we keep believing as our Lady did, without judgment, meditating on everything that happens, without rushing around finding fake news about things, but just staying with the truth that we know and allowing that to glow with the glory of God. At the end of 8 days, he was circumcised. He was called Jesus. They were doing the ritual things that all Jews did. Whatever our rituals are, certainly we as Catholics have so many beautiful rituals. Let them speak to us. Let them guide us. This year is not going to be an easy year. But following the example of Mary, the Mother of God, we have such a great example of a human being like you and I, who was able to accept craziness in the world, to see the divine in the messiness, and she never gave up. May we be like her. May we be that example of allowing Jesus to glow in our lives so that others can see him and sing his praises like the shepherds. Glory and praise to God.